I'm Gwen Peterson. I'm the founder of Spiritual Communities Network, and every month we have community classrooms. It's an opportunity to get to know the different teachers, different modalities, get questions answered, maybe test out something new that maybe you've heard about, but you're not real sure of. So it's just a great way to do that. And we've been doing it for years, and every now and then I pop myself in here to, talk on different classes that I hold myself. And this one is particularly being funny for me because it's on Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael and I have a funny relationship. And I hope to share some of that with you as we move along. I'll start out by saying, as I was looking, I just finished a class, an online class for this, okay, Archangel Michael with the meditation and everything. There were class notes and everything, right? Because I've created this online class. I went to go get the notes for tonight's class, nowhere to be found. Nowhere. And I can't get them off of the classroom. And I'm like, where could these notes be? They're like completely gone. And I know I did it. And I've had this class before. I've done it years past. Nope. And I'm like, all right. Apparently, my friend wants me to rewrite the notes, start over, do something new, something fresh. So that's just how he is sometimes. So let's start by, if you guys know how to use your reaction button, use your heart button or thumbs up to tell me, are you familiar with Archangel Michael? Okay. And do you work with him on your own? Is he one of the angels maybe you work with a little bit? Okay. Well, we're off to a good start because I have had people in the classes that are like, I don't know anything about angels, not anything. So at least we're starting there. So let's get rolling. Let me do a quick introduction of who is Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is an important figure in several religions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. In Christianity, he is considered one of the most important archangels and is often depicted as a powerful warrior, defeating evil and protecting humanity. Michael is often associated with the concept of justice, and he is sometimes referred to as the Prince of Heaven or the Defender of Faith. In Judaism, Michael is also recognized as an archangel, and he is sometimes associated with the idea of repentance and the promise of forgiveness. In Islamic tradition, Michael is known as Mikail. He is recognized as an archangel of mercy, responsible for bringing rain and other forms of sustenance to the earth. Throughout various religious traditions, Michael is often portrayed as a powerful, positive force, fighting against evil and defending the innocent. He is sometimes depicted with a sword, representing his power and authority. So, any questions at this point? Okay. I want to touch on some points about who he is. All right. One is he is one of 7 archangels. All right. Some of the more popular ones are Archangel Michael, Raphael, and a few others people tend to hear of, but there's 7 of them. And what's interesting is in that little blurb I just gave you, where they said in the Christian religion, he's considered the defender of faith. And what's interesting is his feminine aspect is faith. So in most religions, we're taught the masculine form of the angels. So there's Michael, but angels are not masculine or feminine. They're both. They're a blended energy of both the those energies, feminine and masculine. And so his feminine side is faith. And so if maybe you spend a little bit of time on your own to think about what that represents, how faith as an energy, faith as a power that you can call on, as opposed to just a word or something that we use here in third dimension, but faith as in, that same unconditional love, unconditional trust. There's also unconditional faith and what that means from that God energy. He's also associated with the color of cobalt blue. So sometimes it'll appear in meditation, sometimes it'll appear in things, that'll help you to help highlight an answer maybe that you're looking for in something. As I mentioned, he's also known for his sword. So he's a perfect archangel to work with for, say, cord cutting, if you want to do any of those types of rituals. And he's also very easy to work with, which kind of segues into why would you want to work with him? And it is because he is really easy. His energy is very close to the planet. I know that's more of a third dimensional type of construct because all the angels' energies are available to us and they're always near us. But his energy just seems to be more easily connected with. If you want to think of the levels, the dimensions, his energy, he holds his focus very close to the third dimension. So it makes it easy to connect with him. His energy is friendly. If you work with any of the guides or angels and such, sometimes their energy will come off. We may interpret as, some are a little more standoffish, some are a little more stoic, some are a little more. To me, my working with them, he's almost a prankster. he's got everybody's going to have their own relationship with him. But I think most people have found he's just a very friendly, comfortable, easy to get along with type of energy, or angel, if you will. And he has agreed to be present to each and every one of us. And his work is about connecting us back to our soul, we tend to look outward for our answers. We tend to look outward to the angels to, help me out, get me out of this mess I've gotten myself into. Where the angels, really, their job is to get you focused back on your heart center, on that soul essence of yourself, because it's your soul that has all the answers that you need in order to move through your life experience. And so sometimes when we ask for help and guidance, we sometimes don't get the answers that we are hoping for, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to steer you back to, I hate to do this to you, but you already know that answer. And, but that they can give you hints and that type of thing. So that's what working with them helps with. Like I said, his feminine aspect is faith, which really has a lot to do with trust, really learning to trust. And my thing I've really taken away from him is he really teaches us to listen. All right. And here is where I'm going to segue into my personal story with Archangel Michael. And, I was brought up Catholic, but they really don't spend a lot of time on the angels, so to speak. And I heard of guardian angels and stuff, but I really just didn't have any background on it. So that wasn't my thing. And when I was doing my spiritual practice, my own personal spiritual practice, when I was really starting to learn and develop and move into that and what that looked like, I wasn't looking for guides, if you will. I was just looking to figure out why I wasn't a happy person in my life. What was going on? What were some of these questions? Why did I always feel like there was just something else that wasn't happening the way I thought it should? And I remember I was doing a meditation, and I was kind of down, really in deep into the meditation. And all of a sudden I heard someone whisper into my ear, Michael. And it scared me, okay? Because I am not that type of person who gets the that clairaudient message, okay, where it sounds like somebody's talking to you. So that just freaked me out. I thought somebody was in the house with me. I was looking around, didn't see anybody. And I was like, okay, I really just don't even know what that's all about. So what I did is I just kind of filed it away to a whole host of things that I had to get answers to in my life. And if I just released a book, and if you read my book, you'll see what I mean. There's just different things that would happen, and I would just say, maybe I'll find out what that was at some point. And so this was one of those things. Some time goes by, I'm with a girlfriend, and she's all about angels. All her work's about angels, everything she does, that's her shtick all the way, angels. And we were just hanging out, and she says to me, hey, why don't I give you an angel reading? Because that's what she does. And I said, yeah, if you want to, again, because at this point, angels, take them or leave them, right? They weren't in the forefront of my life. And so she says, I said, all right. So she's like doing her thing. And she's like, what's really weird? She goes, Archangel Michael keeps coming up a lot. She goes, it seems he's really close, wanting to work with you. And I said, it's funny you should say that. So I tell her my situation, that situation that came up, the incident. And she starts laughing. And she's like, that was him. That was Archangel Michael. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. She's like, so when you meditate, call on him, see if you can't build a relationship with him, because that's what you can do with angels and this and that. And I was like, all right. So that night I go home and I'm like, okay, let's see if we can do that again. See if we can get this angel to talk. So I'm sitting on my bed and I'm trying to get focused, but if you're a meditator on a regular basis, you probably can appreciate that. If you're just kind of sitting there and just letting yourself move with the energy is a whole lot different than sitting down with the intention of you're going to talk with an angel, right? And so I was a little anxious about it and excited. So I'm sitting on the bed, trying to calm myself, get in that space, seeing if I can't get in that space that I was in before. And in my mind, I'm like throwing out hey, Archangel Michael, can you say hello? And I'm like sitting and I'm listening. And all of a sudden I can hear way in the background, I can hear thunder. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was going to rain tonight. That's kind of weird. Okay, focus. We're focusing on Archangel Michael and getting him to say hello again. And I hear thunder again. And I'm like, what is with this storm? And it is moving fast. I mean, before it was way out there. Now it's like getting pretty close. I'm like, boy, we're going to get some rain tonight. Gwen, focus. You're getting distracted by the thunder. You're not paying attention. We're here to connect with Archangel Michael and hear him say hello. So let's just be quiet and let's do this again. Okay, Archangel Michael. say hello. The thunder hits, and it hits so loud. It's like it hits in the room and nearly knocks me off the bed. And all of a sudden I realize that's him. The thunder has been Archangel Michael the whole time. He had gotten to a point where he had to yell at me, right? I was like, oh my gosh, that is the craziest thing. So that's kind of where we started our relationship, me and Archangel Michael. And ever since then, when I sit down to do meditations, I will call him in. He's always present, but you know what? They can focus their energy. So calling them in and asking them to sit with us or asking questions, that's all part and parcel. But at the same time, you want to listen, because if you're asking, they're listening and they're answering, but you have to be listening. And that can come through. And I always suggest, if you're going to work with him, that you do it through a meditation, okay? Because you're focused, you're quiet, and you should be listening at that point because you're in a meditation, right? So I ask people to start there if they want to do that. You're raising your vibration during a meditation, which puts you more in alignment, which just allows for you to, develop that relationship, however it's going to be. And I have another story that just popped in. Okay, so more recently, like in the last couple of years, I was going along and I had just moved into a condo, and I'm sitting there, and I have a radon equalizer fan thingy that pumps fresh air into the place to keep radon at a minimum, I guess is what it does. And so sometimes, next door neighbor, if they're cooking, I can sometimes, if they have their window open, I can smell their food because their kitchen's right next to my little fan. So I'm sitting there, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was doing something, crocheting probably, because that kind of puts you in that focused meditation spot. And so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I can smell, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I'm like, smells like cookies, smells like sugar cookie. No, not quite sugar cookies. Sweetbread. I'm like going back and forth on what is this smell, but it smells really good, and it smells like a baked good of some sort. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what they're cooking, but it smells good. And this went on for a few days, and I was like, how much baking can these people be doing that I keep getting this smell, especially at night? That's kind of weird. And so one night I was sitting in meditation, and I could smell it, but this time I'm in my bedroom, so I'm not even near that fan. My bedroom, and I'm smelling it again, smelling the cookie smell. I'm like, dang, I don't know what that smell is, but it sure is great. And I love it. And I'm like, one of these days, I guess I'll get the answer to what that is. And all of a sudden, not that I hear clairaudient, this was more of a vibrational. I heard, remember the movie Michael? And I'm like, yeah, I remember the movie Michael. Like, yeah, it's about Archangel Michael. That was pretty funny. And then I was like, oh, that. And now I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, but in the movie, they equate Archangel Michael to the smell of baked goods, cookies and such. Like the women in the movie, it's more, has more of a sexual content. Like when he's aroused and all pumped up, the women around him can smell pie, cake, whatever, cookies and such. So I was sitting there and I'm going, oh, he's making himself known to me. So when I'm sitting there and I can smell that smell, that's a key that he is the closest to me, and he is more available to work with at that point in time. So whenever I do smell it, I do make a point of stopping what I'm doing and putting my full attention on him and whatever messages might be coming through. I might journal, I might meditate. And so that's kind of the relationship as it's evolving with him. He made it known he did want to have a class when I started to put together, revamping my whole course programs and stuff and the classes I was doing. And I asked, well, what should, what's the classes I should be doing this time around? And it came through that Archangel Michael definitely was going to be one of the classes, and his a cord cutting ceremony with him. And I was like, oh, okay, that works. And so the takeaway here for you, whether you're here in the class or listening later, because this will be archived on the Spiritual Communities Network YouTube channel, is that it's about you developing your own relationship with the angel. Okay. He will present himself in a way that is in keeping with your soul's intention. Okay, because our souls, before they came here to this dimension, were connected with those angels. They were vibing together. They were hanging out. They were best buds, They were like, hey, let's do this. And, Archangel Michael's like, okay, you do it, and I'm going to be here for you. So we just have to remember that he's here for us and figure out how best to develop that, because each of us has our own way of connecting with spirit. Some have clairaudience, some sensation, some, any of the five senses, and then some don't have the senses as much as just hearing vibrationally, which is a whole different thing. So that's kind of my point there with the stories, is it can be anything. There's a bazillion books out there on him from people who have had, who have relationships with him, who are communicating his work or his words or his whatever that he's trying to put out in conjunction with your soul, their souls. So play with it. It's not a lesson to be learned. Oh, we're, need to be healed. Oh, we've done so many bad things that we, need to be fixed. It's none of that. It's none of that. The angels, my perspective on this whole life experience is that we're here for the experience. It's a game. It's just, we're down here playing the biggest game in town, which is third dimension. And we have lots of support. We have lots of love. We just need to, as physical beings, learn what that looks like and how best to communicate with them. And they communicate with us, our souls and our guides, through our weakest link. And sometimes if we take the time to really develop a meditation practice, that can be a weak link. It works out better to have them talk to you through a meditation than say you're driving to work one day and you hear something, or if you're in the shower and you think someone's talking to you in there. Maybe having a little more intentional connection at the outset is probably recommended. So any questions at this point? Because we have 5 minutes. We could do a 5-minute meditation real quick. We could pull in our big guy and ask him to sit quietly with us and warm our hearts, and we can let him know that we're open to working with him, and he can let us know that he's giving us a thumbs up and hears us. However that looks. You guys good for that? Thumbs up? Meditation? Good. All right, well, let's do that. Find yourself a comfy spot. Closing your eyes. Bring your focus on your heart center, where your soul is, that soul connection. Taking a few deep breaths just to let your body relax and your mind to focus. And Archangel Michael's been present the whole time. That's why my voice has been a little on the squeaky side, all that high vibration, tightening up the vocal cords. So he is ready to begin. Are you? Let's begin. Taking another deep breath. And as you exhale, open that heart center. And most people would feel Archangel Michael coming through the pineal gland, through the top of the head, and quietly to yourself, say hello. Say hello to your angel, invite him in. Just quietly letting yourself be open and receiving to any soul guidance. Remembering, remembering that Archangel Michael is always present, always available. You can call on him often. He will help to open that heart center. He will help you to release old ties that no longer serve. Taking a deep breath and thanking the angel for being with us. In love and gratitude. Namaste. Okay. And as you come out of your meditation, wiggling those fingers and toes, listening to my seat creak. I'm going to say thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn off the meditation or the recording.